so often I hear people complain about, oh, I hate remakes. Oh, I hate sequels. Oh, I hate requels. Oh, I want original ideas, whatever it might be. So I was like, you know what? Why are y'all complaining? Because I think horror's in a pretty good spot right now. Everybody, Nick at the Lost River Drive-In here, and tonight I wanted to do a video talking about the horror genre as a whole, where it is, what we have to look forward to, what has come this year, and really anything and everything in between. I want to kind of give my thoughts on where we're at, and I think where we go from here. Now, I started the video by saying that too often I feel like you hear people talking about how they feel like Hollywood is out of original ideas and how they want to see less of this and more of this, and insert whatever you want to insert there. Whether someone is saying they want to see less sequels and more original ideas, whether they want to see less remakes, less requels, whatever it might be. And as I've been talking about this, I've talked about this on the podcast with Christian, I've talked about it on my weekly shows with Justin, I feel like that argument doesn't really hold a ton of water right now. Because personally, I feel like horror is actually in a pretty good spot. And I feel like there's something for everyone out there right now. But let me explain. So first, if you're somebody that is really big into sequels, you're definitely in a good spot right now. Obviously, we have Saw 10 coming up later this year, which is a hotly anticipated sequel for pretty much anybody that liked that series, especially if you liked the older movies in that series, since it's more of a return to form. You've got The Exorcist Believer, which is a sequel to the original movie. Now, if you're a fan of the original movie or you're a fan of David Gordon Green or whatever it might be, you're probably pretty excited about that. I know I'm cautiously optimistic about that movie. You've also got movies like The Boogeyman that just came out, which is a 11-page short story by Stephen King that got turned into an hour and 40-minute long feature-length movie, which was pretty solid. It's not great, but it was pretty good. You've got The Last Voyage of the Demeter coming up this August, which is another spin on Dracula. And meanwhile, just a few months ago, you had Renfield, which was a totally different spin on Dracula. That was more comedy and, dark comedy. And then now The Last Voyage of the Demeter looks almost like a very horrific creature feature period piece. So again, a lot for everyone to like there. Now, you'll notice that I mentioned a short story adaptation, a sequel, an original idea, all in those first few movies I talked about. And that's just to show you that there really is a lot there for people, no matter what it is you might gravitate toward or might prefer. And then earlier this year, we had Evil Dead Rise, which was not a sequel, it was another franchise installment of something that's been around for decades now, but it was very much its own thing. And then Scream 6, which was a sequel in a long-running slasher franchise. So both very long-running franchises, but very different approaches to the next installment in those series. I'm wearing a Terrifier shirt. That's another series that's really being born right before our eyes. And that was an original idea. Now, sure, it takes a lot of concepts of classic horror movies, especially slasher movies, but it is its own thing. It's an original character created by someone that is really starting to captivate audiences and looks to be a modern day icon. And that's really cool. We get news of a new Leprechaun movie in the works. We don't know if it's going to have any connective tissue, but that's honestly awesome. A new Final Destination movie in the works, which is awesome. There is so much here for people to like. One thing that has been surprising to me, I guess not to me, but I think has surprised some people, and maybe in a good way, is the kind of letting off the gas a little bit when it comes to the remakes. The remake trend really, really was a very popular trend for a period of years there. It seemed like every other month a new remake to a classic movie was coming out. And I feel like Hollywood has really diverted and kind of done a U-turn and gone, rather than remakes, let's do requels. It'll be like a loose reboot and a loose sequel at the same time. We'll retain elements we want to retain, and we will forget ones that we don't. And I feel like there's been a nice middle ground there, because it's if you want to retain the more important elements of the movies that you loved, these movies have it, while also cutting out all of the excess fat of movies that you may not love as much, or maybe you just don't want to see revisited. And I think both are totally fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with either one of those approaches. Now, as far as original horror ideas go, there's a ton. There's a ton out there, but I feel like they don't get a ton of, I don't know, notoriety, a ton of attention paid to them from the media or really just the general audiences as a whole. I mean, anytime Ari Aster does a movie, there's always horror elements to them, or they're either, just straight up horror. And those movies, they have nice cult followings, but they don't really blow up like some of these movies. Over the past few years, we've had movies like Barbarian, X, Pearl, Smile, which was pretty derivative for the genre, in my opinion, but still, it was a new idea. Megan, haven't seen it, but I know a lot of you loved it, so I have to mention it in here. I'm going to be fair here. Why am I mentioning all these movies? Because I do kind of grow tired of the talking point and the argument that that Hollywood just isn't original anymore and horror has lost its way, because I feel like whether you're somebody from the walk of life that wants to see sequels, or you want to see remakes, or you want to see original, fresh, new ideas, I feel like all of that is happening right now before our very eyes. And you have an Easter basket to choose from, basically. Do you want this egg or do you want that one? And I feel like when that is happening, everybody wins. If you're someone that likes to stick to what's tried and true and what you are comfortable with and what you know, there are sequels and requels and remakes out there for you. And I feel like we've found this perfect balance where there's a little bit of everything going on right now. And the last thing I want to address with this is I've really started to see this, and I know you guys have too, especially if you're, part of film Twitter, because this happens all the time when a new movie comes out. You see these trades and these websites really, really talking about, oh, wow, horror is doing well, and horror, oh, surprise hit and a sleeper hit and great legs. No, give credit where credit is due. Horror keeps the industry going. And before you go, no, it doesn't, they don't make as much as the big budget action movies and superhero movies. Yeah, I know. You're going to help my argument here. Horror movies are usually made on modest budgets or low budgets. Most of the time, you could call them low budget movies compared to X Marvel movie or Y DC movie, whatever you want to put there. So when investors and studios make their investment back tenfold because a movie cost $5 million to make and made $150 million or whatever the number might be, these investors and these studios are far more likely to pump out more movies than if they do a $250 million movie and it makes $500 million. Why is that? Because everybody involved, everybody that put money and time and effort into it is reaping the rewards insanely and really, really noticing that profit margin. It is far more healthy than a larger budget movie. And when Warner Brothers scores an $145 million hit with Evil Dead Rise and makes its budget back like tenfold or whatever it was, that allows them to have money to pump into other projects. So horror has kind of always carried the box office and kind of always carried the industry because most of the time those movies are going to make money. And so you put those movies out there knowing that you have just financed that movie, financed its sequel, and probably helped finance another movie for that company every single time. Look at a movie like The Boogeyman that did not open strong at all. It opened very quietly. I think it made like 11 million its opening weekend or something like that. Very little known story, so it makes sense. It is legging it out. It's almost at 60 million now worldwide, and it's got healthy legs. It kind of keeps going. It's probably going to double its budget, and that's for a higher budgeted one. So horror, especially with good word of mouth, continues to deliver for the box office, for the studios, and for the people. And I just felt compelled to make this video because I just see it too often. Sometimes, guys, it is as simple as I am scrolling on Twitter and I see an article that pisses me off. And I'm like, I want to do a video on this because there's only a few thousand of you guys that watch this, but every single one of you is important to me. And I know a lot of you agree with me, which is why you're here. So you'll watch a video like this and you'll be able to relate. You'll be able to go, yes, you are, speak truth to power. You know, you are speaking how we are feeling as the community. And I'm hoping that I'm doing that. So let's not get it twisted. Horror's in a really good place right now. It's making money. There's original content out there. There's sequel content out there. There's reboot content out there. And above all else, most of it's pretty good. Like, we're getting a lot of good horror. Even if some of it to you is just passable or meh. That's a hell of a lot better than some of the shit we've gotten over the years. So horror's in a great place right now. I'm really, really excited for the rest of this year. There's so many movies I cannot wait to see this year. There's a lot of great movies coming out next year. There's been a lot of great stuff over the past 2 years. There is so much here. There's a lot to chew on. It's exciting. We are eating well, kings and queens. So, everybody, if you liked what I had to say in this video, comment down below and let me know what you think of the current state of horror. Please make sure to like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on social media. And that's going to do it. So, this is Nick of the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.